When people talk about unemployment, they usually focus on the weekly number. But the money problem is almost never the weekly number. It is the gap before the first deposit, and the tax bite that shows up later when nobody is watching. By the end of this video, you will be able to look at your state unemployment portal and predict when your first payment is realistically going to hit based on the status steps you are actually waiting on. And you will be able to sanity check whether your benefits are being taxed in a way that could create a surprise bill later. Quick note, this is educational, not financial advice. We are going to keep this simple: what changed, why it moves the way it does, and what to watch next. Picture a renter who just got laid off. Their benefit estimate is about $450 a week. Rent is due in 10 days. A credit card auto pay usually hits on the 15th. They think, once I file, the money starts next week. Then they realize the first payment is not next week. And even once it does arrive, it might not be the full $450. That confusion comes from two clocks running at the same time. Clock 1 is the eligibility and processing clock, which controls when money starts. Clock 2 is the tax clock, which controls how much you keep now versus how much you might owe later. Let's start with clock 1, because this is where budgets break first. In most states, the process looks like this. You file the claim. The state verifies identity and separation details. You get an eligibility decision or a status update. Then you certify each week or every 2 weeks that you are still eligible. Payments get issued only after those certifications are accepted. So, the practical reality is that your first deposit is waiting on multiple steps, not just the date you filed. And if any step slows down, your timeline shifts. Here is the clean mental model. There is a difference between eligible, approved, and paid. Eligible is the rules side. It means you meet the requirements. Approved is the administrative side. It means the claim cleared the review gates. Paid is the money actually being issued to your bank account or card. If your portal shows a status like pending, identity verification, adjudication, employer response needed, or issue on file, that is not a vague message. It is telling you which gate is still closed. Now translate that into a calendar you can actually use. Say you file on a Tuesday. Your first certification window might not open until the end of that week or the following week, depending on the state. Then the certification has to be processed. Then the payment has to be issued. Then your payment method matters. Direct deposit is often faster than a mailed check, but it is still not instant because the state has to push the payment out first. This is why the weekly benefit amount can feel misleading. It is not a countdown timer, it is a rate, and the payments only start once the system agrees you are in the paid stage. There is also a second mismatch that catches people. The weekly amount you see on the portal is not always the amount that hits your account. Sometimes the first week is partial because of how the claim week is defined. Some states have a waiting week. Sometimes there are deductions like child support, intercepts, overpayment offsets, or other withholdings. Sometimes the portal shows a gross benefit amount, and the deposit is the net. So if you are looking at $450 on the screen and expecting $450 in the bank, that is a common misread. The better question is, what does the portal say for payable amount or issued amount for that week? Another reason this might not show up right away is that some claims trigger extra verification. If a state cannot verify identity quickly or the employer contests the separation, your certification might be accepted but held. That is why two people can file on the same day and have very different first deposit timelines. So, the practical way to frame it is this. Your timeline is mostly a status problem, not a patience problem. Once you know which gate is blocking, you stop guessing. Now, one reasonable question is, why does this feel slower than people expect? One explanation is that the system is designed to prevent incorrect payments, which means more checks when something looks unusual. Another explanation is simple volume and staffing, which can slow processing even when nothing is wrong. So, the practical way to frame it is not, I must be denied. It is, I need to identify whether my claim is in a normal processing lane or a review lane. Back to our renter, rent is due in 10 days. If the claim is still in identity verification today, the chance of a deposit before rent depends on how quickly that specific gate clears. That is why the key skill is reading the claim status correctly and then planning for a bridge window if needed. That bridge window is where the damage happens. Bills do not wait for your claim to process. Autopay keeps drafting, late fees stack, and a missed payment can create a long tail, interest, fees, and sometimes credit damage, even if the unemployment spell is short. One more detail that matters for timing. Payment issued is not the same as money available. A payment can be issued on a Thursday, but if it goes through a prepaid card program or your bank holds it, you might not see it until the next business day. Weekends and holidays can add a small lag that feels huge when rent is close. So, when you check your portal, look for the issue date and the payment method, then match it to your bank's posting behavior. In the next section, we will talk about Clock 2, the tax clock, because it changes what hits your account and what hits you later. Then we will turn everything into 3 signals you can watch so you know whether you are stuck or just early. Now let's talk about Clock 2, the tax clock, because this is where people get blindsided months later. Unemployment benefits are generally treated as taxable income at the federal level. Many states also tax them, but rules vary. The point is not memorizing every rule. The point is understanding that the number you see on the portal is often a gross number, and your actual keep number depends on withholding choices and offsets. Here's the boring but important mechanism. If you do not withhold taxes from benefits, you might keep more each week now. But you are also storing up a potential bill for later, because the taxes do not disappear. They just wait until filing time. If you do withhold, your weekly deposit is lower, but you may reduce the chance of a surprise bill. That is not advice either way. It is a trade-off that depends on your cash needs and your overall income picture for the year. Let's put numbers on it so it feels real. Our renter is getting about $450 a week. If 10% were withheld for federal taxes, that's $45 per week. Over 12 weeks, that's about $540 that did not hit their bank account. If nothing is withheld and they keep the full $450, it feels better now. But if they later owe taxes on that income, that $540 did not vanish. It shows up as a reduced refund or a bill. And it can be bigger than people expect if there are other moving parts like a spouse's income, a part-time gig, or a severance payment that pushes taxable income higher than assumed. Here's a common misread. People think, I have no job, so I will not owe anything. But taxes are not about your job status. They are about income received during the year and how much was already paid in through withholding. A year with unemployment benefits plus some wages early in the year can still land in a bracket where you owe something, especially if withholding was light. Another misread is confusing withholding with extra taxes. Withholding is not an extra tax. It is a prepayment. The question is only whether you want to prepay now or settle later. Now bring it back to the month-to-month reality. If rent is due and cash is tight, choosing withholding might feel impossible. If you have a larger cash buffer, withholding can be a way to reduce future stress. The key is recognizing the decision is about timing. Now, let's turn everything into 3 signals you can watch, because this is where the anxiety turns into a plan. Signal 1 is claim status gate progress. You are looking for the exact blocking issue in your portal, not the generic pending. The practical version is, does it show a resolved determination, or does it show an issue still open like identity verification, adjudication, or employer response? If the issue is open, your first payment clock is not really running yet. If it is resolved and you are certifying successfully, you are closer to the paid stage. Typical lag, identity verification, and adjudication steps can take longer than simple processing. Even after resolution, it can take a few business days for payment issuance to catch up to your certifications. Signal 2 is certification acceptance versus payment issued. A lot of people see certified and assume that means paid. It does not. Certified means you submitted your weekly facts. Accepted means the week is payable. Issued means the money was actually sent. The screen you want is the payment history or benefit payment detail that shows an issue date and amount. If you have certifications that say accepted but no issued payment after a few business days, that is a strong indicator of a hold, an offset, or a method setup problem. Typical lag. In many systems, payment issuance follows certification acceptance after a short processing window. But weekends and holidays add friction. If you see an issue date, then the remaining lag is usually bank posting, not state processing. Signal 3 is net payment versus gross benefit. This is the tax and deduction signal. You are looking for a line that shows withholding election, deductions, or the payable amount. If your deposit is lower than the weekly benefit estimate, You want to know whether it's taxes, an offset, or a partial week calculation. This matters because it changes your budget math. Planning rent around $450 when the net is $405 is how overdrafts happen. Typical lag: withholding affects every payment immediately once elected, but tax consequences can still show up later if withholding does not match your true tax situation. Now, revisit our renter scenario with these signals. If their status is still identity verification, they should assume the first deposit is uncertain and plan the bridge window. If their certifications are accepted and payment history shows issued amounts with dates, they can plan around bank posting. If their net payment is lower than expected, they adjust the rent plan and autopay schedule based on the net, not the headline. This is also where the second-order costs show up: late fees, overdraft fees, credit card interest. Even if unemployment benefits cover the basics, those friction costs can consume a meaningful portion of what you get. So, the money move is not just get approved, it is avoid the fee cascade during the lag. Now, I want to end with a short 2-minute checklist you can use today. This is the part you can do even if you are stressed and you have 5 minutes. 2-minute checklist. Grab your phone and do these in order. First, open your state unemployment portal and find the claim status details, not the homepage summary. Look for any explicit issue labels like identity verification, adjudication, employer response, or pending determination. If you see an issue, that is the gate you are waiting on. Write that exact label down. Second, find the certification section and confirm what weeks have been submitted, and whether each week is marked as accepted or payable. If a week is not payable, look for the reason code. Third, open payment history and look for an issued date and an issued amount. If you have accepted certifications but no issued payments, that is not a vibe. It usually means a hold, an offset, or a setup problem. The key is that it is a different problem than processing. Fourth, check the payment method on file: direct deposit details, prepaid card enrollment, or check. If it is direct deposit, confirm the routing and account numbers are correct. If it is a card, confirm the card was activated. If it is check, assume mail time exists. Fifth, check whether tax withholding is turned on or off, and whether your portal shows a gross amount versus a net payable amount. Budget off the net. If you do not see net, use the issued amount as your truth. Sixth, look at your calendar for the next 10 days. Identify what will autopay: subscriptions, credit card minimums, utilities. If the first deposit is not issued yet, assume those drafts are higher risk. If you can, move the timing, lower the minimum, or pause non-essential drafts, not as a command but as options, because the goal is to stop the fee cascade. Seventh, once you get your first payment, do a fast sanity check. Does the issued amount match what you expected after withholding and any deductions? If not, do not wait a month to notice. Trace it now while the claim is fresh. If you do those 7 checks, you stop guessing. You will know whether you are stuck at a gate, waiting on issuance, or just waiting on your bank to post. And you will know whether the number you are living on today is gross fantasy or net reality. If this helped, subscribe to the Wealth Blueprint for more clear money breakdowns. And leave a comment with the next topic you want covered, or the one part of today's video you want explained even simpler.